a bit of revenge there, Kevin Bartlett, for the Victorians, who have seen their title slip a bit in the last couple of years, and just a bit of a shame that this match wasn't played for the title of Australian champion, because South Australia had beaten both Victoria and WA, and so that had been decided before this one was played.
Yes, but great to see Victoria win, Drew, and I think let's give a congratulations to Teddy Whitten and Bill Goggin and Ron Barassi and Graham Richmond and Cal Moore. The selectors, they got a lot of criticism, of course, when we were defeated by South Australia, but they've picked a side today that has performed very, very well. And of course, throughout the game, we've had so many good players today for Victoria. Greg Williams in the centre played an absolute magnificent game, well over 30 possessions, possibly finished best player on the ground with another great last quarter. I thought Madden played very well for Victoria, tired a little bit in that last quarter, but his rucking was absolutely supreme, some 24-25 hit-outs and close to some 15 possessions, and he also was a great player. Royal came onto the ground and booted 3 goals. We had a lot of good contributors. Neagle was a good player. Also thought that Morris lifted his game after being well down early. He booted 2 vital goals, and David Rees-Jones came onto the ground and really did give the Victorians a lift at a stage when Western Australia looked very, very damaging. I thought for WA, Mark Bairstow, the Sandover medalist of last year, played a fantastic game. He kicked 3 goals for. He never stopped trying, and he gave so many opportunities to that forward line of WA, which fell down very, very badly. Todd Bremen, I should say, just wasn't up to it at full forward, and of course the loss of Glendinning and Buckanara really did show that they had very few good key forwards in WA. Murray Rance went to centre half forward in the 3rd quarter, gave him a lift, but full marks to the defence of Victoria. I thought Langford, even though he didn't win a lot of possessions today, did particularly well at full back, and that mark of Vishenko was about the only time he was beaten for the day. Paul Roos also lifted his game and did particularly well, particularly in that last quarter. And a lot of contributors, players, it's always good to see players who have been down come back onto the field and do well, and Wayne Johnston played a vital role in that last quarter for Victoria. Dale Weightman, captain Victoria today, played a fair game, not one of Dale's great interstate games, but I'm certain he'd be very proud that he has captained Victoria to a big win here at Subiaco Oval. Also, I should mention Peter Foster, because it was his first state game, and Doug mentioned in the call that former Fitzroy player, of course, he was rejected by Fitzroy, has gone to Footscray, and after a long time there has really developed into a good player, and he came onto the ground and went onto the half-forward flank, and he also gave Victoria a big lift, a lot of marking power. So all in all, I think everyone in Victoria, Drew, would be very, very pleased with what's turned out to be a great win. A tough game, though, after half-time, when you consider the Vics only increased the lead by 5 points, from 19 points at half-time to 24 points at the final siren, but a well-deserved victory.
Do you think any questions have been answered about the Victorians' pace? Because, gee, Western Australia had some pretty nippy blokes, didn't they? Mitchell?
Well, Mitchell, he played a marvellous game. 4 quarters, he went off at one stage in the game. I'm not quite certain why John Todd took Mitchell off. Maybe he had a slight injury, but his pace today was quite outstanding, and I'm certain that Richmond is hoping that Michael Mitchell can produce that form. Phil Narkle also was a marvellous player. He played 4 quarters for WA, and he just demonstrated that he is a magic player and certainly one of the heroes over here. And Chris Mainwaring also did particularly well, playing on the wing most of the day, short spell in the back pocket. But I think as far as the pace was concerned today, when you consider that we had Royal and we had Dale Weightman back into the side, and Dale's slick, and of course Greg Williams sets up a lot of the running players. It's
I'm not hearing. Thank you. Welcome back. We'll be going back hopefully to Subiaco to hear from somebody in the Victorian dressing rooms in just a moment. One other point which was raised, Big Nick, after the match against South Australia was the emphasis on tagging. It seemed as if it was a bit of an all-out attack today rather than tagging a lot of opposition players.
I agree wholeheartedly. I think 2 or 3 of our last interstate games we've been too defensive. Instead of being positive and setting up our own running play, we've had too many players worrying about the opposition. That's exactly what happened today. We made the play.
A lot of mistakes in the second half. Would that be because the ball was still a bit slippery?
Well, I think it seemed to be slippery on the in the shade on the grandstand side of the oval, but no, I felt there was they're probably trying to handle the ball too quickly sometimes with a bit greasy. It's hard to handball, when it is a bit greasy, but some of the trying to bounce the ball not coming up. Obviously, there was still a bit of dampness there.
Well, you said that you like to have 5 goals on them at three-quarter time to feel safe. The Vics didn't have quite that, and it looked as though they might have to weather a bit of a storm. How do you think they managed to tough it out? Did the Western Australians just not really have the legs?
They didn't have the forwards. They made a lot of forward moves, but they broke down. Roos and Langford lifted their games, in particular at centre half back, full back, and I think they just kept on keeping them out. But in the first quarter, with a dry ball, I'm sure they would have been. It may have been a different story.
Okay, well, look, we can go back to Subiaco. I'm not quite sure whether we're going into the rooms or to Drew. I think perhaps firstly we're going back to Drew in the commentary position.
Yes, thanks, Tim, and we can take you straight down to John Bell.
Thanks very much, Drew, and with me is the Victorian skipper, Dale Weightman. Dale, congratulations, a great effort.
Yeah, it was a great team effort. That's what really won it for us, I think.
Yeah, you must be very proud of the boys. Did you think really it would be that easy today? It really was quite a large margin in the end.
Oh, I don't think it was ever easy. You know, it was fairly hard fought every game. It was goal for goal there in the last quarter, and it could have went either way. But it was just, I thought we just went in 2s and 3s all day, and that's what helped.
You and Brian Rule very dominant in the final quarter there, and I think that was significant.
Yeah, well, we've been playing pretty well, the both of us, so we were pretty proud to have beaten Western Australia.
Enormous elation there at the end of the match. The boys jumping for joy, absolutely delighted.
Oh, no doubt about that. You know, we're playing for our state, and we all love that, and it's always better when you win.
Well, it's 13 State of Origin matches now. Victoria again 1 up, 7-6.
Yeah, it's great, and hopefully next year we can make it 8-6, so we'll just see how it goes.
Yeah, what players in particular were you pleased with as far as performance was concerned?
Oh, you know, I thought Andrew Booth in the back pocket really played well. Just, you know, fought all hard all day, but I think it was just a really team effort. You know, every time there's a contest, we had 3 or 4 there all the time, and that's really what made the difference.
OK, good on you. Thanks very much. Congratulations, Dale Weightman, the Victorian skipper. Back to Drew Morphett.
And it sounded like he had a few happy Victorians down there at ground level, thanks to John Bell on the ground level at Subiaco Oval. Well, that wraps it up from us here in the commentary position. On behalf of Kevin Bartlett and Doug Haywood, this is Drew Morphett at Subiaco Oval. Back to Tim Lane in our Melbourne studio.
Just about wraps it up for us. Thanks very much, Drew. John, we've got 30 seconds. Who was your best player for each side?
I thought undoubtedly Greg Williams was the great instigator of Victoria. Western Australia-wise, I probably would have separated between Bairstow, Narkle and Mitchell.
Thanks very much for joining us, and I bet you're delighted and you might go away and have a celebratory drink for a Victorian win at last.
I think I will.
OK. Well, that's it. That's our coverage of the State of Origin match from the Subiaco Oval. Drew Morphett, Doug Haywood and Kevin Bartlett calling the action over there. John Nicholls with me in the studio, and we bid you now a very good evening.